Yo, TJ here. We thought we'd make a guide for all the weapons in Monster Hunter Rise to help you guys get a better understanding of how each one works. These guides are aimed to be more beginner-friendly rather than anything too advanced. Although, if you're looking for a refresher on a weapon, you're more than welcome. And with that, let's get right into it. In this video, I'll be covering the Switch Axe. The Switch Axe is a versatile weapon that can switch between a hard-hitting axe and a quick slashing sword. This weapon also utilizes files to further empower its damage and elemental capabilities. To start, we'll look at some of the basic combos. In Axe mode, pressing X will give you the overhead slash, followed by the side slash, and finally into the rising slash. Whereas pressing X plus A starts with the rising slash, and then lets you loop back into the overhead slash. At any time, pressing the A button will transition you into the Wild Swings combo, repeatedly pressing A, going further adding more chops onto the combo. If you press X before the third chop, you'll go into the overhead swing, but if you press X after the third chop, you'll go into the heavy slam. I'll talk about this more later. And finally, pressing ZR at any point during these chops will give you the wide sweep, and doing so again after will morph you into sword mode. Outside of just the wide sweep, you can press ZR to swap between sword and axe mode. As for the sword combos, pressing X gives you the overhead slash, into the right rising slash, and the left rising slash. Pressing A gives you the double slash, being followed up by the Heaven's Ward Fury. If you press A after the left rising slash, instead you'll get the triple slash, dealing an extra hit, both slashes of which go into the Heaven's Ward Fury. And pressing X plus A lets you perform the Elemental Discharge. During this time, you can repeatedly press the X button to keep the charge going, finally ending it with the Discharge Finisher. The Switch Axe gauge has 3 parts to it. The inside of the gauge, every attack in sword mode will consume some of this gauge. This allows your sword attacks to apply bonus damage relative to the type of files your weapon has. If the gauge is below the marker, you can't switch into sword mode. If you try, you instead get a manual reload animation that fills the gauge past that threshold. Next is the outside of the gauge. This fills up as you land attacks in sword mode. When the gauge is full, the weapon will go into an amped state. This gives both attacks in sword mode and axe mode bonus file hits. This will also cause the Elemental Discharge and its finisher to latch onto monsters. The last part to this gauge is from the Heavy Slam. Performing the Heavy Slam will grant a buff. This buff makes your sword hits charge the amp state faster. With the Switch Axe, you're typically going to be looking to build up that amp state, as this will be when your damage is the highest. When filling the gauge, it helps to start by finding time to get the Heavy Slam in for the initial buff. But don't worry, even if you miss the attack, the buff is still granted. Then switching to the sword to enter the amped state. And then finally, going to town, hitting an axe and switching to sword and back as you unleash your attacks on the monster. Remember though, that it's important to switch back and forth between the form needed at the time, since you walk faster and hit harder in axe mode, and the sword's fast and constant file effects deal a lot of damage too. With that, thank you all for watching, and make sure to subscribe to GameXplain for more on Monster Hunter Rise, including more weapon tutorials. Check out the video on the right for more content you might be interested in. Until next time, bye!